Beloved ones, let us embark together on the fascinating story of Siddhartha Gautama, a being who transcended human suffering and became the Buddha, bringing light to many paths. Knowing this journey is not only inspiring but also an opportunity to reflect on our own lives and find ways to face challenges with more serenity and wisdom. Here on our channel, where we talk about spirituality and mental health, we believe that stories like this not only illuminate our journey, but also offer valuable tools for our inner growth. Here, we will discuss the methodology of Buddhism alongside its history. So get ready, because there are many lessons ahead. Siddhartha Gautama was born into an environment surrounded by luxury, beauty, and perfection, protected from any form of suffering. His father, a powerful king, wanted him to become a great emperor, and, to that end, created an artificially idealized world for Siddhartha within the palace walls. He grew up unaware of what disease, death, or aging were. From birth, prophecies indicated that he would be either a great spiritual leader or a conqueror. To prevent him from following a spiritual path, his father tried to keep him away from life's hardships, providing only pleasures and riches. However, this protection would ultimately shape the restlessness that would drive him to seek the truth about human suffering and the origin of life. At the age of 29, Siddhartha Gautama's curiosity led him to ask permission to leave the palace and explore the outside world. His father, reluctant, tried to prepare the scene, clearing the streets of any sign of suffering or decay. However, despite these efforts, Siddhartha witnessed a reality he had never known before. On his first outing, he saw an elderly man and, perplexed, realized that aging was inevitable. On the second, he encountered a sick man, understanding the fragility of health. On the third, he came across a corpse, confronting the reality of death. Finally, on the fourth outing, he met an ascetic, someone who had renounced material possessions in search of enlightenment. These experiences deeply marked Siddhartha, awakening in him the desire to understand the true nature of human suffering. Profoundly unsettled by everything he had discovered, Siddhartha Gautama decided to abandon the comfort and pleasures of the palace. He left behind his family, his position, and all the privileges he had known. He joined other spiritual seekers who lived in renunciation and austerity, believing that extreme deprivation was the path to overcoming suffering and achieving enlightenment. For 6 years, Siddhartha subjected his body to a severe regime, living almost without eating and without any physical comfort. However, this approach only led him to exhaustion and the brink of death. It was at this moment of deep reflection that he realized that extremism, both in pleasure and deprivation, was not the path to liberation from suffering. This realization gave rise to the concept of the middle way, a balanced approach that avoids extremes and seeks harmony between body and spirit. Determined to follow this new understanding, Siddhartha accepted food from a young peasant girl, restoring his physical strength. His ascetic companions, seeing his decision, abandoned him, believing that he had given up on his quest. However, this choice would mark the beginning of his final journey toward enlightenment. Siddhartha understood that the true path to liberation lay in mental clarity, balance, and a deep connection with the truth. This concept is essential for both mental and spiritual health. When we try to control our lives with excesses or overly rigid discipline, we create an environment of tension that hinders growth. The middle way teaches us that it is possible to find satisfaction and peace by being moderate, by being aware of our choices, and by embracing the impermanence of life. Siddhartha, sitting under the Bodhi tree and meditating for 49 days, discovered that suffering is not something we can avoid or eradicate, but something we must learn to live with. By facing this suffering head-on, without denying or ignoring it, he found true peace. This teaches us that there is no growth without challenges, and that it is through full acceptance of life as it is, with all its difficulties, that we can find true enlightenment and spiritual connection. The conclusion of this teaching is clear. The pursuit of happiness and inner peace does not lie in avoiding difficulties or constantly seeking a perfect state, but in finding balance and serenity in the face of life's impermanence. The Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path form the core of Siddhartha Gautama's teachings, the Buddha's teachings, and offer both a practical and spiritual framework for understanding human suffering and transcending its limitations. These teachings not only explain the causes of suffering, but also present a clear path to overcoming it, leading to enlightenment and inner peace. The first of the Four Noble Truths tells us that life is marked by suffering, or dukkha. This does not mean that life is exclusively painful, but rather that it is permeated by dissatisfaction, anguish, and discomfort at different levels. This truth reflects the fact that all things in existence are impermanent and, therefore, inevitably lead to frustration or disappointment when we cling to them. The second truth points to the cause of suffering, which is desire or attachment. We desire experiences, objects, and situations that bring happiness and try to avoid those that cause pain. However, since everything is transient, these pursuits generate a cycle of frustration and continuous suffering. The insatiable desire for pleasure, power, or security keeps us trapped in this cycle. The third truth presents a solution. It is possible to end suffering by freeing oneself from attachment and desire. This state is called nirvana, a state of profound peace where suffering no longer dominates existence. It is an invitation to abandon illusions and live with serenity and acceptance. The fourth truth points to the path to the cessation of suffering, known as the Noble Eightfold Path. This path is a practice guided by 8 interconnected principles that help cultivate a life of balance, ethics, and wisdom. These 8 aspects are right understanding, seeing reality as it is, recognizing the impermanence and interdependence of all things. Right thought, cultivating intentions and motivations based on kindness, compassion, and detachment. Right speech, using words purposefully, avoiding lies, slander, or harmful speech. Right action, adopting conduct that does not harm oneself or others, based on ethics and responsibility. Right livelihood, choosing an occupation that is ethical and does not harm other living beings. Right effort, persisting in positive thoughts and actions while avoiding negative mental patterns. Right mindfulness, being present in the moment, aware of each action, thought, and sensation without judgment. Right concentration, developing mental focus through meditation, achieving deep states of calm and clarity. These teachings offer a guide to living consciously, aligning our thoughts, words, and actions with the reality of life. They show us that suffering can be transformed into spiritual growth when we cultivate wisdom, ethics, and compassion. In practice, the Noble Eightfold Path is not just a set of rules, but a way of life that invites us to be present and act with intention. It teaches us that peace is not in fleeing from suffering, but in facing it with courage and understanding, learning from it, and finding a way to transcend its causes. By integrating the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path into our lives, we discover that true freedom comes from accepting impermanence and letting go, allowing us to live with lightness, balance, and fulfillment. These teachings are not only a path to spiritual enlightenment, but also a practical philosophy for facing everyday challenges with wisdom and serenity. Buddha's final message was clear. No one can save us except ourselves. The path to enlightenment is a personal journey, guided by practice and experience. Buddha's story is not just a spiritual narrative, but an invitation for each of us to awaken to our own potential to live with wisdom and purpose. Whether through meditation, practicing detachment, or seeking a deeper understanding of life, his story continues to inspire millions to walk a path of self-knowledge and enlightenment.